So many disagreements are merely verbal. People are talking past each other. And this means that clearly defining our terms can resolve these disagreements in many cases. And the key to resolving these disagreements is clarifying vague or ambiguous language. Now, vagueness refers to a lack of clarity and meaning. So for example, if I say go down the road a ways and then turn right, that's vague because a ways does not precisely explain how far. It could be 2, 5, 10 miles, right? Ambiguity also refers to a lack of clarity and meaning, but ambiguity arises when there's more than one meaning, and it's difficult to choose which meaning was intended. For example, the stool is in the garden. That's ambiguous because stool could mean poop, right, or chair, or toadstool, or something else that's very clear and distinct. So notice the difference between vague and ambiguous. They both lack clarity, but vagueness lacks clarity because there's a continuum of meanings, whereas ambiguity lacks clarity because there are multiple and distinct meanings. Vagueness is like a gray area, ambiguity is like black and white. To better understand, let's do these exercises. On the first one, explain why these statements are vague. The first statement is vague because later could mean 2 hours, 2 days, 2 months, or what have you. The second one is vague because pile and heap are vague terms. How many grains of sand make a heap? And this leads to something called the Socrates paradox. Check out this exercise. Why are these statements ambiguous? Well, the first one, pitcher, could mean water pitcher or baseball pitcher. The second one, renting, is ambiguous because that could be the landlord renting or the tenant renting. The third one, stool, is ambiguous because it could mean poop, chair, toadstool, and so on. The fourth one is humorous and ambiguous because hole in one could mean she's playing golf, or it could mean she's like actually putting a hole in one of her children, which is horrible. Number 5 is also humorous. Kids make nutritious snacks could mean kids are making them, like a chef, or the kids are the ingredients, so cannibals are eating kids here. Okay, and then finally in this last exercise you can see some philosophical examples of vagueness and ambiguity. When we have when we'll have discussions about these things, but when we have these discussions, we want to clearly define what we mean by creationism and science and rational and God and objective and free and so on in order to have good discussions. So there is a difference between vagueness and ambiguity, and these are sometimes good. We can cultivate them in poetry and literature and so on, symbolism. But they can also confuse many of our discussions in philosophy and politics and so on. So what we should do is start by clearly and precisely defining terms when possible. And this will help us resolve many of our disputes. It'll clarify concepts. It'll move us closer to truth. It'll help us better communicate so we're not talking past each other. And in general, we'll think better and have better discussions. Thanks.